It's
a lot of that going on.
nice,
it's not TV, it's art.
Yeah.
So, how about Roger? What about you?
Yeah.
Are you? Do you have a favorite Muppet puppet from when you were a kid, or even now?
I don't know if I really have a favorite puppet. I mean, kind of just like Rob was talking about. I didn't necessarily have the great appreciation for it. That even actually sitting here for the last couple hours, that I never really thought about how you do engage with the puppet. You know you're talking to a puppet. You know you're talking to a sock, but you glue a couple eyes on a sock, and all of a sudden you're looking into the eyes of a sock.
It has a soul, damn it! It has a soul.
Now that you say that,
I never thought about it, but it's 100% true. And it takes 2 seconds, and all of a sudden you will interact with a sock or a puppet. I think I know over the past 2 hours I have a much bigger appreciation for it.
As
Jeff,
well you should.
hey, Captain Roger.
Rob.
Obviously from
No
a
favorite puppet,
ventriloquist standpoint.
My new favorite, Captain.
Has always been that has always been amazing to me. How you can, again, what Rob was saying, he created a whole show and then he doesn't even move his lips. And then there's the whole point where you can get away with so much as a puppet, and you can say things that you can never say as a person, and you're standing less than a foot away from them.
Yeah,
the guy who's saying it.
They're a sock on your arm, and you're standing right there, but all of a sudden it becomes okay, and you can become Ahmed the Dead Terrorist and say, I kill you! Whatever you want.
Silence!
And so all of a sudden there's these, like I say, even in the past 2 hours, I've because I've mostly been sitting here just listening, and it's like, this how it really is an art, and how much you can actually, how these socks turn into a real live being.
Yeah.
Character.
Well, you know what adds
So
to the
believable too.
You know what adds to the illusion of it, really? It's how you perform the puppet when the puppet's not talking.
Yeah.
That's what sells it. Because I could just have Roger and not talk, and he can just be here. Or while I'm talking to you, I can have Roger do his own little thing. And he can just be looking around, and he can take a deep breath. Or before,
Which is gonna bring them to life.
He had a drink of water before.
Yeah.
During the show at some point. If you look at the recordings back, Roger had a drink of water. It's the little things you do that bring the puppet to life, when you're talking.
Yeah, I like when you make him check back with you about some stuff. He's like, right?
Yeah.
That's because I'm a very hyper-aware puppet. I'm aware.
That's awesome.
That his hand is up my butt. I'm aware.
It's just like, you're getting a physical every time he out manipulates you.
That's right.
That's so awesome.
Does this tickle? I'd have to say that my first experience was with Sherry Lewis, the operator of Lamb Chop. Yeah, Lamb Chop, and I thought, wow, this woman in Lamb Chop, and I never, as a child, a very young child at that, I never put 2 and 2 together, and until I kind of started to realize, wait a minute, that's a sock and a
talk about a raunchy puppet.
And she was so sweet and so kind, and Lamb
No,
Chop
she wasn't.
Lamb Chop was
there were 2 versions of Lamb Chop. There was the real Lamb Chop, and then there's the we want to make a kids show Lamb Chop. Yeah.
No, I saw the kid show one. That's what I grabbed.
I must have only been exposed to the kid one. I didn't know there was other.
Now you've got
Sherry
me.
Lewis had a bit with Lamb Chop, and she did some raunchy material with Lamb Chop herself.
Oh, okay.
Sherry Lewis is incredible.
After the podcast, make sure you Google the raunchy Sherry Lewis Lamb Chop bit.
I mean, I don't know if she's raunchy as much, but Lamb Chop had an attitude. Lamb Chop was not a kid's puppet.
Not a kid's puppet. Yeah, okay. I did not know this.
But also, if you look at Lamb Chop, she shares some of the traits of Kermit the Frog. She is purely a sock, Lamb Chop. A sock with a lot of frill around her. Yeah. And you can manipulate so much of Lamb Chop's mouth. And you can make Lamb Chop do almost anything, any kind of facial expression. Yeah. Which is what made her great. Aside from the tremendous ventriloquy that she did. Are you done? Can I talk now? No. We're still working on that.
Yeah, and I think Fred Rogers was my biggest, to this day, my biggest inspiration growing up. And I try to live my life in every aspect at one point as what would Fred do? The kindness, the fact that it's okay to be angry, these feelings inside that you get when you're hurt. If I can get my hands on Fred Rogers information, books, documentaries, videos, I'm there. I recently heard a podcast, I think about a year ago. It was, I think, a 6-part series on Fred Rogers. I think it was entitled "Who is Fred?" Wonderful. I am listening to this podcast, driving to LAX, going to work, listening to a podcast, and I'm freaking bawling my eyes out driving the car on LA freeways because I'm listening to this, and it is just such an emotional thing of listening what he did for people, what he did in the world. But I've got to say, as an aviator in my, dare I say, in my 40s, I've got to say, Captain Roger Victor, you are my favorite puppet. Absolutely.
There you go. Thank you.
And the funny thing is, years ago, when I first stumbled across this video, I believe it was the viral video, or maybe one before, and I came home. Oh, I told my wife and kids, "You've got to see this. You've got to see this." And of course, I got this very similar expression. And why didn't you think of this? I was like, well, I don't know. She's like, you could do voices. I'm like, I'm not that good, but okay.